Job Posting Analysis from the Talent Development Program of the T. Howard Foundation. Most people looking for a job, if asked, would say that interview questions are probably just a prescribed list asked by all interviewers across the company. Or perhaps they're questions asked at random, some even designed to trip you up and make you feel uncomfortable. But for a good hiring manager, neither is the case. Rather, they think of questions as a way to give you insight into your skills, specialized knowledge, and past experiences so that they can better understand how your skills, knowledge, and experiences work with the job you're interviewing for to see if you'll be a good fit for the role. For this activity in the interview module of the T. Howard Foundation's Talent Development Program, we'll show you how to look at any job description and predict the kinds of questions you'll be asked in a job interview. Let's start by visiting the giant job database, Indeed.com. And here I've taken the liberty to pre-fill it with media as a search tool. And under that, we're given a number of suggestions. We'll go ahead and go with media relations. And for the where, let's pick Atlanta, Georgia, and click Find Jobs. Next, we're given the option to choose an experience level. This can be a great way to filter through the results so you're not frustrated by jobs you're underqualified for or overqualified for. I went ahead and chose entry level. You can choose whatever works for you. But from this, I've located a really cool job with Rosser International, a marketing coordinator. And from this, you can see we have a list of minimum requirements and essential skills. And if you read on down further, there's a list of responsibilities. Most job postings convey a lot of information. Don't be intimidated by that long list of descriptions and requirements, because the more information you have on hand, the better off you are. On the other hand, there are some job descriptions that are so short, so nimble, that you do have to do some reading between the lines. In either case, we can still learn a lot about what a company is looking for and what is important to them in that role. And from this information, we can deduce the kinds of questions you're likely to be asked in that first round interview. So let's start by just dissecting what we have here. Pulling out a few essential skills and minimum requirements, we have strong work ethic listed. We have organizational skills, including multitasking and time management. Graphic design skills, such as an eye for detail. Project management, including the ability to work independently. Technical production skills, particularly working with Adobe Creative Suite, Microsoft Office, and social media platforms. So let's just use that information and see what we can come up with. How do you go through this kind of job analysis to decipher the questions a hiring manager is likely to ask? That's what we're going to demonstrate next. In your workbook, you will find a fill-in-the-blanks grid that looks something like this, and some of it has been filled in for you already. What I'd like you to do is to create something similar to this on your laptop or mobile device, or maybe just take out a good old-fashioned pen and paper and draw it yourself. What we're going to do is go through each of these sections in the From Traits to Questions activity, and we're going to list the required skills, areas of knowledge, and experience that the employer seems to be looking for in a candidate. And then we'll place that information in that first column under traits. Next, on that same row, we're going to create questions. That is, we're going to try to formulate the kinds of behavioral interview questions an employer could ask, then identify when and where we did that in something very similar in a past job in that third column under your experience, in an internship or a school project or volunteer experience. And finally, in that last column under answers, I want you just to, in bare bullet form, just identify a few things that you did that were related to these experiences. And we're going to try to answer the question using the STAR method. Now, it's encouraged that you make a little extra room in your chart to organize your answer using STAR if you can. Otherwise, you can do it on a separate piece of paper. I find it helps if we just brainstorm the key points of our answer first, and then later you can flesh it out more formally using STAR. That is situation, task, action, and result. All right, let's practice, shall we? So here we're going to pick strong work ethic from our list. We're going to add it to that first column, first row under traits. Next, we're going to create a question. Now, you can totally use your imagination for this. Remember to use the behavioral interview technique, which is always tell me about a time when. Remember, it's a question that always begs for an example. So here we can imagine an employer might ask, tell me about a time when you went above and beyond the call of duty. And let's say you're racking your brain about when did I go above and beyond the call of duty? And you thought, I was a public relations intern for 3 months with the Coca-Cola company. I'm sure there's something there that I did that was above and beyond the call of duty. So this would be something that was just above and beyond what you were expected to do. And here, maybe you volunteered to help your manager on a project that required you to do a lot of research through extensive business-to-business communication. So you had to do cold calling, you had to do all kinds of things that were out of your comfort zone. And from that, you can probably formulate a good answer using the STAR formula. Well, the situation was my boss needed help on a project and I volunteered for it. It involved as tasks reaching out to businesses across the Atlanta area to find out specific information related to the query. And the actions I took were A, B, and C. And as a result, then you can give the result either of the project or what you learned from that situation, and particularly related to your work ethic. From this, you demonstrated the ability to go above and beyond the call of duty, and you would do so in this future job as well. Okay, so that's the basic idea. Let's try it again with the second row. All right, let's pick organizational skills from our list here. And under traits in the second row, first column there, we'll just write in organizational skills. Now comes the fun. We get to create a question in that second column in the second row. How about this? What if your manager had you working on a project and her manager asked you to help with another? This is a situation that often happens in the workplace. Now, maybe this didn't happen to you. And what you want to do in that case is think of the next most relatable thing that did happen. So what was a time when your organizational skills were really challenged? Or when you went above and beyond to get things done in an organized way? Okay, now you get to jog your memory under the experience column there in that third column. We'll write it down in the second row. Let's say you worked for Home Depot as a human resources assistant. And in that row, your boss asked you to help out with a project, which you gladly agreed to. You had the bandwidth for that. You were able to organize it neatly. But then her boss came along and said, hey, you wouldn't mind helping me out with this project, would you? This does happen frequently in the workplace. Now, maybe it hasn't happened to you. It has happened to me, which is why I'm using it as an answer here. So in this case, you told the big boss, I'd love to help, but I need to clear it with my manager first. That demonstrates strong organizational skills, where your instinct probably told you as a young human resources assistant, yes, I'll do it. I can make it happen. You knew through your keen organizational skills that you would probably end up in a tangled, frustrated, stressful mess if you just said yes to everything. So you did the best thing you could. You talked to your boss, and your boss talked to the big boss, and they worked out a deal. Okay, that's totally hypothetical based on my experience. I want you to think about your experience with organizational skills. And you can do that in response to any question that you create. In fact, it might be good to create several hypothetical questions. and then go back into your experience and think, when was a time that I did that? What was the situation? What were the tasks involved? What actions did I take? And what was the result? And finally, what did I learn from that situation? All right, I think we're getting better at this. Let's try it a couple more times. How about with project management? Project management is a skill in much demand, especially the ability to finish projects independently so that you can be a reliable worker. All right, so let's write down project management on our sheet from traits to questions. We're now on column 1, right down there on the 3rd row. And we can create a question. Now remember, you can use your imagination, but try to use the behavioral interview technique. That is, give me an example. Tell me about a time. That's how those questions are typically going to be formulated, because they want to force you to really think of something tangible to give in response to the question. So our question might be, give me an example of a project you worked on independently from start to finish. That's not too hard. We've done lots of those. Maybe you can go back and think about your undergraduate work or even things you've done in conjunction with the T. Howard Foundation. Okay. And so for your answer, maybe you had a project where you had to review workplaces' diversity statements in the city of Columbus and compare and contrast them. Okay, so that could be the answer that you plug into the STAR method. This was the situation. These were the tasks involved. These were the actions I took, and this was the result. Again, we're helping to predict the kinds of questions and the kinds of answers that you could ask in an interview in which you have no clue what the employer could demand of you in that interview. All right, let's try it one more time. How about social media platforms? That's a good one. All right, so we'll write that down in our first column there on the last row. And in the second column, we get to create a question. And let's say the question is, tell me about a time you leveraged your social media skills to boost event attendance. And you're thinking to yourself, oh no, I didn't do that at the Coca-Cola company. I didn't do that at Home Depot. I didn't even do it in my undergraduate coursework or working with the T. Howard Foundation. Remember, when you don't have the exact experience match, pivot to the next most relatable thing. And in this case, you did organize an event using social media, and it was for your grandfather's 90th birthday party. So begin to formulate your answers. And remember, you can just jot this down in short statements or short words, and then later plug it into the STAR formula. In this case, let's imagine that you created an event page, you set up an RSVP process, you send out invites, and then you begin to moderate the discussions. You begin to send out reminders. You got people hyped. All right, that was the situation. Those were the actions you took. What was the result? Maybe the result was better than expected attendance. Or maybe the attendance wasn't so good, in which case you can talk about what you learned from that situation. So we can always get value from our examples, whether good or bad, using the STAR formula. All right, so got the basic idea? Your turn to try it out. Remember, you can create this on a pad or on your laptop, or I just recommend a good old-fashioned pencil and paper to get it going. In the interviewing section of your workbook, you've been given another example of how to analyze a job posting in order to deduce what questions will be asked. I'd like you to revisit that now and give it a shot. Please take a moment to read through that exercise now. This has been the T. Howard Foundation's Talent Development Program interviewing module, How to Analyze a Job Posting.